Thanks, folks. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the culture. Welcome to the culture. Peace and welcome to the culture here on Black Star Network. Folks, this afternoon we talk about Women's History Month. How should we go and acknowledge, recognize, and celebrate the great contributions of women? We'll have that conversation. Also, President Biden is scheduled to give his State of the Union address tonight. We'll discuss expectations and realities. And then later, we'll talk about patriotism. Should we become patriots? If so, what does patriotism mean to you? We have those conversations and a whole lot more, so stay with us. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Can you hear me? Folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. So happy that you could join us this afternoon. We got a lot of great conversations lined up for you, and I'm very, very excited to talk about some of the big things that people are trending, are talking about, or just we want to get into these conversations. So make sure that you let your friends and family know that we are broadcasting live, streaming on Black Star Network, and also on Facebook, YouTube, and other digital platforms. And we thank you for tuning in. Now, the first conversation that we're going to have is around this issue of Women's History Month. It is officially Women's History Month, March 1st, and it is a very exciting time of year as we look to celebrate the great accomplishments, the great achievements, the great contributions that women have made to make this country better. And I'm very excited to have this discussion with two of my fantastic panelists who are a part of my culture crew. We're going to be joined in a moment by Lise Winnie, who is host of Millenniums Anonymous podcast, and Iman Heath, who is an activist and entrepreneur. But we want to look at this whole month. And throughout this month, I'm going to just let you know, folks, give you a little inside tip. Throughout this whole month, we are going to do our part to celebrate women from various backgrounds, from various faiths, to give us some insight about how we can move things forward, whether you're talking about economically, socially, politically. But we want to talk and we want to hear and we want to create a space where women are seen, are heard, valued, and most importantly, followed. So I can't do enough without my culture crew. So let's bring them in right now. We're joined by Lise Winnie, Iman Heath. Good afternoon, sisters. How y'all doing today?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Hey,
I'm
I'm not
good.
on mute today.
Oh man, look, ladies, first and foremost, I figured that this might be a great conversation, a great topic for the both of you because y'all so are like pro women. I don't know if that's the right term to use.
We can say
Maybe
that. We can say
I
that.
can say that. Okay, all right. But just so like you really speak to I think to a lot of the big issues, and more importantly, you speak to what's going on with women across the board, whether it's in this country or you're looking at around the globe. So it is officially Women's History Month. This is the month where back in 1987 Congress decided to pass a resolution or bill really to acknowledge the contributions of women and dedicating this whole month. Now some people would say, well, why is the whole month, or why is this important? Because women aren't heard, folks. It's just that simple. Women aren't heard, women aren't seen. And in 2022, I'm gonna start with you on this one, Iman. In 2022, we're still seeing that Black women in particular are still left behind. So what does this month mean for you?
I'm rooting for everyone that's black. This is Women's History Month, but I'm going for Black women's history. This month, I just want to celebrate us more, but celebrate the ones we don't really speak of too often. Like besides Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks, let's talk about those unsung heroes that children and myself don't really know too much about. Um, let's also talk about our plight and fight along with the black man, but highlight our struggles as well as women. Let's talk about something that's been bothering me since I want to say probably 23. Why do we have to pay for menstrual cycle products? I didn't ask for
Mm,
this. This is not what I asked
mm.
for. So Biden, if you're listening, why are we still paying for these sanitary napkins and such? What else do we have a gripe with? Like we talked about last week, wage. We still have a wage disparity when it comes to women and men. So just highlight, celebrate, but also highlight the things that we don't really particularly speak on regularly. But yeah, I'm rooting for everybody's black.
Okay, you're rooting for everyone that's Black, and
Yeah.
there's some really good questions in that in that whole vision. Lise, what about you? Why is it important for us to even have a conversation about Women's History Month and its significance?
Well, I think it's always important to recognize groups or marginalized groups that are not always in the forefront, which is women. We're starting to see the first time in 2020 and 2021, women are just doing things. Like we are the first female vice president. We're having the first Black woman being nominated to the Supreme Court. And we're in 2022. So that's why it's great to be able to highlight what women do and what women go through, not only to mention the plight that a lot of women have, that we still have to deal with things like sexual harassment. We don't get paid the same rates for the same work. So we're still fighting for
Yeah.
ERA to this day. So I think making sure that we acknowledge how far we've come will help us go further in the future. So that's why I think it's important to do that. Even with Maps Media, we did like a mini documentary on Black women or women of color, rather, called The Weighted Crown, to really showcase all the things that Black women have to deal with and go through in the history of why there's certain stereotypes that are still out today. So I think that it is good to highlight not only just Black women, but all women.
Yeah, yeah, and
I
I
just want
think
to take a
yeah.
take a moment to acknowledge Lise and this beautiful body of hair she has. I'm loving the curls and the big fro, sis. I'm loving it. I'm here for it. I love it.
Thank
I
you.
love it.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Had to acknowledge the fro.
And you look amazing. I love your hair as well. You looking fierce. I see you. I see you.
Y'all really doing it up for the first day of the month. So I see you. I see you. Most people look
Thank you.
broken down because is rent is due, mortgage is due.
Listen,
You
we
know what
ain't
I'm
got to talk about that
saying?
today. We got
But y'all
4 more
looking real
days. We
good.
got 4 more days.
We pay within that 4-day window. I hear that. I hear that. All right. So look, let's talk about the fact that in this country we are still I think struggling with the fact of women empowerment, women making big progress. I can't understand why we're still in this space, Iman.
We're still here because of acceptance. What's not normal to people make them uncomfortable. A lot of women are taking over this whole entrepreneur umbrella. There are a lot of women who are now getting their CDLs to drive trucks, and that is a male-dominated field. And I've seen, especially on social media, more women on TikTok, especially, documenting their day-to-day life when it comes to being a part of the trucking life. We're not scared to go into those fields that are male dominated. We're going for more positions, even though we did say last week it's not looking as such, but we're going for more positions that will put us in that power and not be as timid or scared to face those masculine energies, and to understand we have to be in our own power. We have power too.
Yeah.
Being using our feminine energy and being in our softness helps too.
Yeah.
It's a balance to it. It's definitely a balance, but people being uncomfortable is the problem, and not wanting to accept women in certain fields is the problem.
Not wanting to accept women in certain fields, I think is a huge problem. And Lise, you mentioned in your opening remarks the fact that we're still doing the first. We're still breaking records by being the first. You know what I mean? And I feel like for the next 10 years, this is just my estimation, but I feel like for the next 10 years, we're going to consistently still be in a place where we're like, oh, this is the first woman to do this or the first woman to do that. And do you feel like that we're making the progress that we need to make within a timely manner, or is it still slow, grinding, uphill battle movement?
I think it's slow. I do think we could probably move a lot faster, given that women are half of the population. So it's kind of crazy that we're still doing this in 2022. But I think what's happening is people are starting to understand that women are the future, and I'm hoping that we will see a female president before I leave this earth, because I think that is only a matter of time. Women can lead just like men can lead. So I think it's a matter of not only just giving women an opportunity, because women have this we kind of talked about that last week. They have this uphill battle to prove that they are competent before it is assumed. And so we always are working behind men in that regard.
Yeah.
Especially when you talk about white men.
Yeah.
But I think that it's coming, and I think more and more people are starting to change those thoughts about what it means to still be a woman and what it means to be a woman in this society and what women are actually capable of doing.
And what would you say? I feel like there has to be like a major attitude change that has to happen in order for us to see the type of movement and progress that we want to see. I feel like first, I can't speak for all men, but I'm going to speak for all men right now. We have to change our thinking, right? We have to change.
Absolutely.
Black men
accountability.
Have to change.
Good job, Faraji. Accountability.
I'm gonna take full accountability. I'm gonna catch it all. It's whatever we want to do. But I know without a shadow of doubt that we have to change the attitudes, and I'm saying that specifically within the Black community, how we see women. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is this this kind
box.
Of conflict.
This in this little box that we're stuffed in.
We're definitely stuck in a box, but I also think that there's this conflict that, regardless of a status of a woman, profession of a woman, that dictates the level of respect we give the woman.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? So if you work in corporate America, okay, we should respect you a certain way. If you work in if you're unemployed, then we should respect you this way. And I feel like that has to change in order for us to make the type of movement and progress we want to see. Am I wrong in thinking that, Iman?
You're spot on with the Faraji. And I'll also say, as far as with fields and respecting women, I know a mobile female mechanic. Your honest mechanic. Check her out on Instagram. Awesome work. Does awesome work. She changed air filters, changed oil. When I say gets her hands dirty, can change a tire in 15 minutes. Okay.
Wow.
But it's just because she's a female is looked at. Does she really know what she's doing? Some of the issues she's come across is if customers trust her expertise. Just because she's a female, she may not know as much, or she may diagnose you with the wrong part. And it's like, no, respect my experience and what I've learned in my knowledge just as much you would a male. So it's definitely that image of a woman. And like I said, that box we've been stuffed into, we have to open that box. Or if you're going to put us in a box, add more stuff to the box or add more room inside the box, because we're growing and we're taking over, okay?
Right. I can definitely, Lisa, what's your take on that?
I agree. I agree with her 100%. We are stuck in a box. And I think that ultimately we got to get rid of I'm not knocking anybody, but we kind of got to go against the Kevin Samuels of the world, where people think that there's only one way that women should be, or the woman should be this way and that way. And then we do the whole thing with the alpha and the beta males. And in order for you, and it puts people in a box where in order for you to truly still be able to thrive, you have to fit in this mold. And we should not have that at all. So I think that with society, I agree with you 100%. And if I'm being 100, if I'm going to keep it 100, being a stay-at-home mom is one of the hardest, like when we talk about jobs that have, that we give value to, that is one of the hardest things. You throw in COVID, I think most of us almost threw our children out the window. Like it was one of those things. So to see a mom that's what she does all day, just give her a hug when you see her. Like we need to start respecting people. That job should get paid at least $1 million a year. Like it's a hard job.
Listen, as someone on the outside who doesn't have children, even just babysitting my nephew and that little boy, I love him to death. He looks just like me. However, I could not imagine having to do work and chase a 3-year-old around all day long and still cook, still get your stuff together, still have to handle your business. And we also have our personal issues as well. I couldn't imagine. So I commend all stay-at-home or working from home moms. Y'all something special, because my patience, I don't have.
Do you know how hard it is to just leave your house? Do you have kids to just leave? That's a feat in and of itself.
Nobody has to leave the house.
No one has shoes, even though they wore them yesterday. It's a feat. So we do need to respect.
Hold on, Lise. It ain't about the shoes. You know what? The number one reason why families, mothers, and fathers, we're gonna talk about that, but the number one reason you late for any appointment, because you can't find no damn socks.
That's true.
I'm at a point where I'm just like, go sockless. Just go sockless. Let's go.
Not yet.
No, but that's real. No, that's real. And I want to get back to that part that you mentioned, Lisa, about, stay at home moms, because I know that those women who are doing that role, they don't get enough love and enough support. I mean, maintaining a household is a whole job in and of itself. And I'm not just saying this just to say this. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've seen my wife just do it. Maintaining a household day in, day out, making sure that things are clean and all of those things. It's a whole job. It is a very, very big responsibility. And it's not just cleaning. It's like creating a sanctuary of peace.
Correct.
And that's the art, and that's the skill, and that's the science behind this. Like creating the sanctuary of peace for your children, for your partner, whoever it is, but you create, and even for yourself, creating that sanctuary of peace. And sometimes, men and women, we don't know how to do that. Nobody gave us a manual, a handbook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In the sense of like saying, hey, this is what it is. And this is what you should do and all of that. I mean, we have a sense of it because of stories and all of those things. But in terms of doing that consistently, daily, I must clean up. I'm going to tell you, I must clean up at least 4 or 5 times a day. Like big cleaning, like, you know what I mean? Like picking up stuff, you know what I mean?
And not to mention though, Faraji, can you admit, not including when the children are sick, even through this pandemic, having sick children, when a man is sick, and I know I have witnesses, y'all turn into big children.
Wait a minute,
So
hold
on
on,
top
y'all.
of the
Hold
kids
on, hold
already
on,
got to
y'all.
take
Hold
care
on.
of. You
Not
heard
all men are like that, though.
Faraji.
I'm just letting you know, not
Are you
all
like,
men are like
are
that.
you like that?
No. Oh no.
Where's
Oh
Nara?
no.
Where is Nara?
No, I'm
All of
I'm
y'all
not like that.
turned
Look,
into
look,
big
look, let me
babies.
tell you. Let me tell you, I come from the school of thought that men do housework. I come from the school of thought that you clean the dishes, you take out the trash. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I instill in my son. Like, nah, bro, you're not going to walk around here waiting on no mystery god or some woman to clean up after you as a grown person. You know what I mean? And
He said it, y'all. He said
I have a big problem. I'm gonna tell you the truth, sisters. I have a big problem when a man don't do his part around the house. Huge problem with that. Huge.
Some men don't feel like they have a part around the
I'm
house.
telling
They
you,
think
huge problem with that.
paying the bills is just enough. Some
Look,
men
paying the
think
bills,
that.
first thing, let's keep it real. Paying the bills comes out automatically through your checking account if you got one.
That's number one. That's number one.
It's not like you sitting down, like this ain't the 1980s. You know, remember back in the day, you know, your parents used to sit down, go over the checkbook. Let me pull out each bill. Let me write out the check.
Put it in this envelope, set that aside for
This sucker just
today.
automatically just withdrawn from your account. So paying the bills, I mean, you're paying bills while you sleeping. You know what I'm saying? That's how technology has advanced that. But I'm saying pulling your weight around the house. You know, if you go to the supermarket, you should, and this is just me again, you should know how much a box of cereal costs.
Yes.
It can cost
at least a carton
from
milk.
$4 to possibly close to $5, depending on the brand and the sweetness. You know,
It's probably up to $7 by now. Lord knows.
It probably will be with the cost of inflation. But I think that also when it comes to women's history, I think that not enough of us know. So when you go back and you look at history and you see all the women that have actually done stuff, when we think about it in school, I don't know if you learned this, but it was a lot of women that got left out. Where it's like, oh, I didn't even know this until I was an adult. So I think that we do need to learn about women's history more, especially women of color, because they oftentimes got left out. So we only heard about the women's suffrage movement, which they exclude a lot of Black women from that movement. Like Sojourner, like they don't always include her. So I think making sure everyone is included, and we do talk about women's history, and we teach that to our sons, because I think therefore they would also understand that women can do what you can do.
Right.
And there is no fear in that. A woman should not, that's not a threat to you. She is your team, your partner, and women are your equal.
Right. Opposites but equal. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. We create balance together.
Yeah, and I think that just regardless of what your relationship status may be, you know, there is, and I see a lot of women kind of pushing back on this, but I do think that there is some value in a woman understanding how to take care of the household, and then at the same time how to rear the children and still be the professional woman that a lot of sisters want to be. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that we get it kind of distorted and skewed when with a woman, oh no, I don't do the house thing. And it's like, but that's a skill set. That's a science. That's the base from which everything comes out of. And if the woman doesn't dictate the flow and the energy and the tone and just the overall scenario of the household, you know what I mean? The child is not going to be as fulfilled. You know what I mean? And I think that's the part about it. Iman, what's your take?
I'll have to agree completely. You know, we control the aura of the house, we control the flow of the home. So if we have that unbalanced, then it will not work out. We definitely set the tone. If the woman in the house is mad, everybody in the house got
mad.
She's mad. Everybody better be quiet, get out her way. So I definitely agree with you 1000%. We gotta be more receptive and accepting that role that we have as women. I agree. We can be a little too headstrong sometimes.
Oh, I get it. But you know, you just got to use the right ways to bring balance into it. We got a couple of moments left, but I wanted to kind of get your sister's thoughts on this. You know, when we're talking about teaching in cultivating the next generation of young women, of young women leaders, and just young women, what is the best way that we can really not just teach them about the power of themselves and the value of themselves, but also the history that that these little girls are a part of a long line, a great legacy of women. How do we start that?
I think by making sure that you're not just learning it in school, because they only have but so much time in the day. And I really get tired. Teachers are some of my favorite people in the whole world. And I get tired of people kind of like going at the school system and the teachers for not teaching your children. Your children should be learning if they're going to school, but you have to take initiative to also teach your children if there are things that you feel like they are lacking in. So I think making sure that it isn't a part of the curriculum, making sure that we're teaching them outside of the school, and making sure that not only just with women history, that men and women both understand that women are equal. Like there's not one that's over top of the other, because really what changes is all with making sure we get equal pay and making sure that we are able to make choices about our body, whether it be abortion or what have you, is that men understand that we're not just vessels to birth children, because not all women want children, not all women want to get married, and nor should they, but understanding that we are equals. So teaching that in our society and getting rid of this hierarchy that we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, sisters, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's switch gears, because tonight we're expected to hear remarks from President Joe Biden as he gives his State of the Union address, his first State of the Union address. And it has been a very challenging year for the Biden-Harris administration. We're going to break it down. What can we expect, and what are some of the realities of that this country is going to have to face over the next year? So we'll have that conversation. Stay with us, folks. A lot is coming up in the second 30 of The Culture right here on Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punch
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, tonight, President Joe Biden will be addressing the country to give his first State of the Union address. And in this address, there were a number of domestic issues that the president was going to speak on a couple of months ago. However, given the new changes with the Russian-Ukraine war, things have changed. His remarks will certainly reflect the changes that are happening within the foreign policy for his administration. So what can we expect to hear from the president? Already there's talk, of course, that the long shadow of the Russian-Ukraine war will cast will cast a dark cloud over this administration, as the president has been working to really limit the economic power of Russia. But also along with that, COVID's new phase, there is a discussion about where are we going to be within this living with COVID-19. There have been a number of debates about the use of masks, whether it's indoor or outdoor, but the president is going to speak on that. Also, the inflation and the economy, how this Russian-Ukraine war will affect gas prices, how it will affect food prices, and everything else with COVID, with the supply chain hiccup, all of these things. This country is going to be saddled with dealing with an economic challenge that we probably haven't seen over this past few years. And of course, rebuilding Build Back Better, his social plan to not just build the infrastructure, we saw that plan, but also to do more for everything from education to healthcare. I mean, his plan is a large plan that has yet to really get off the ground because of the conflicting interests for both the Democrats and the Republicans in Congress. And of course, we can expect to hear his thoughts around the historic Supreme Court nominee of Judge Katani Brown and Judge Brown Jackson, and what we can expect from around that situation is his urging Congress to move further along in making sure that she gets confirmed and she gets on the seat as she replaces Associate Justice Stephen Breyer. Let's go back to our culture crew, Imani Heath and Lise Winnie, to get their take on the expectations and then the realities of what we can see coming out of this State of the Union address. Ladies, when we look at all of those things that I just laid out, Russia, COVID, inflation, Build Back Better, the Supreme Court nominee, is there something that you feel like that the president needs to speak on that may be missing from this list?
Yes.
And what's that for you, Lise?
I think that he needs to really address I know he's going to talk about this, but not just talking about inflation, but really sympathizing and empathizing with the American public. I don't know if he's going to do that, but I think that that is a big part of it. I think that Bill Clinton may have mentioned that in a State of the Union speech before, and I think that that's something that he should do to try to connect with Americans, because right now, ultimately, there's a lot of people who they do not like what's going on.
And you're saying that what do you expect the president to say about, these kind of like bread and butter issues? Do you expect him to say, look, we're going to do such and such and so and so, or, we're going to go into the system and I'm going to ask the Federal Reserve to, to keep the interest rate low? Or do you expect him to say something like, folks, we're in a challenging time, therefore, we need to make sure that we move forward and making sure that we stay, united during this effort. What can be said on that issue?
I would hope that he says he's more centered towards the Americans. Like, I understand what you are going through when you go pump gas and you feel like you need to sell a kidney. I understand when you pick up your Fruit Loops, when you feel like you might need to get a pole dancing class. Like, I want him to acknowledge, maybe not in those words, but I would like him to acknowledge that and say that I feel you, I hear you, because the Democrats do a really poor job, I feel, of showcasing where their successes are, but also being able to connect with people who are not feeling what's going on. Yes, he's done a lot, but a lot of people don't know that. So being able to say that I feel you, and here's what we're doing, or here's what will be done, and connecting it directly to the American population of things that matter to us. As I feel like he's going to hit on a lot of things, like a lot of the big issues, like, of course, with the Senate trying to confirm Ketanji Brown, and with the, because, he has to talk about what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, but really making sure that he brings it back to home, because I think most people care about how much stuff cost.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Iman?
I think that he should actually kind of do the opposite. His conference he had, I want to say January 19th was Wednesday, and he spoke about what he has done. And he also kind of bragged about how, if you compare me to another president who has done this much in this amount of time thus far, I think that he shouldn't be repetitive. Don't keep beating his chest about what he has done. Yes, highlight it, but then move on, and let's really dig into your build back better plan that you have. What are the details about it? How far have you gone? He's now saying that he's going to break up that package, and maybe we can get more accomplished in small bites rather than the big chunk, because it is a $1.75 trillion dollar package that he's trying to get moved. And it's yes, let's break it down, but be specific and strategic on what it is you're trying to break down, rather than keep saying, I've gotten unemployment rates down to such and such, or have you seen, I have a plan for inflation, but it's only going to work for in this round. Well, be more specific, and don't repeat yourself on what you have done already.
Right.
I hope he doesn't use Build Back Better.
Say it again, Lisa.
I hope he doesn't use Build Back Better. He needs to stop saying Build Back Better. I think that plan has been an absolute disaster to the American public. And I think him saying and keep toting this Build Back Better, which has helped with some of the rising of the cost of things, is going to be a problem. He needs to rebrand today. Starting today, there's an opening. I think they said that they did a poll, and a lot of people that were big Trump supporters are not as Trumpy. They're like the Trumpettes have kind of been like, you know what? I don't know. So now there's a brief window for him to be able to kind of rebrand himself in the Democrats and what's going on. And hopefully that's stop saying build back. Let's stop with build back better. Let's create something new.
I would definitely agree on rebranding. Yeah. Rebranding does make sense. It may get other people's attention, get people more attention from others, rather than just keep hearing the same plan. Because this is, I believe it's a 39-year inflation high. Like this is astronomical over the past 39 years of inflation. Like, I pay for premium gas, and I do not drive a BMW. Gas is almost $5. I can't handle $5 gas.
That's in the East Coast. Over in the West Coast, they probably be touching $6.
I couldn't imagine.
They probably touching $6. But here's the thing, and I think that both of you sisters are like on point. A couple of things that come to my mind. First, let me share this: that there's a Fox News poll that found that Biden's approval is, and this is I know it's Fox News, but a lot of polls are saying this. A lot of polls that saying that his approval is underwater across the board on every major issue. COVID-19, 51% disapproved. Foreign policy, 58% disapproved. Crime, 59% disapproved. The economy, 61% disapproved. And immigration, 62% disapproved. When it comes to Ukraine, 56% say Biden has not been tough enough on Russia. And 54% say they are not confident in his judgment in a crisis. There was another poll that was done, a Politico Morning Consult poll, found that 50% say Biden is responsible for Russia's invasion.
Let me ask you this, Faraji. How much tougher or harder can Biden be when it comes to Russia? What more can he do or be done so far, before things really start to hit the fan? What else can he do?
Well, I mean, I think that's the big question, Iman. I think that's the big question, because if you look at the number, the way the sanctions have, the sanctions that he have implemented and that the global community has implemented on Russia, it's crippling. The ruble is losing its value every day, especially since this war has started. It's crippling. The Swiss system said that they're not going to allow Russia to be a part of that international financial network. I mean, it's crippling the economy of Russia. So the question becomes that I think the president is probably thinking, look, instead of sending troops on the ground, we're going to hit them in the pockets.
Oh yeah,
We're going to hit them in the pockets.
Well, he did mention that he was going to hit them where the computer chips are. That's literally from what he said. His conference.
He cannot. I'm not a foreign policy expert. I'm not a foreign policy advisor. You put boots on the ground in Russia, not Russia, in Ukraine. That is World War III.
Absolutely.
It doesn't.
Absolutely.
At this point, I think that Biden, maybe the sanctions could have come a little sooner. But of course, you have to wait for the rest of NATO in order to come into this. He can't just do it on his own. So I get that. I think that one of the things that we should do or look at doing is not being as dependent on foreign oil. If you see what Russia's the second largest import of American oil, we have to start getting away from foreign, being completely dependent, and I sound like a Republican now, completely dependent on foreign oil.
No, I mean, look, check this out. We produce oil in this country. We're one of the top 3 countries that produce oil. It's Russia, it's America, it's Saudi Arabia. So we're producing oil. Now, we don't get our oil from that in terms of, we don't produce we produce a lot of oil, but we also have a partnership within the Saudi Arabia. So a lot of our oil is coming from the Middle East. But when you're talking about boots on the ground, and I agree with you, Lise, that is raising the level of alertness and concern.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Boots on the ground builds that fear.
You don't have the president, and I think he knows this. And this is why those polls, some of these polls, not all, but this is why some of these polls I think are worthwhile. Because if you don't have the political will of the people behind you for an international crisis of this magnitude, especially when you're dealing with a man like Putin, who has already put his team on high alert for the nuclear arms, if you don't have a full or a significant consensus among your constituents in this country, why even take the risk? Why try to drum up or manufacture? We saw this situation with the Bush administration when Colin Powell and others that were in his administration. I mean, they were beating the war drum to go to war with Saddam Hussein. And so it's like we are not in that place. We're not that same country.
It's not a heroic mission. It's not. I think that is the biggest difference. Then versus now, it was more of a, you did a bad thing to our country. It was a patriotic, to me, response. Yeah. You went against our country. You did this to our country. Let's go get them, guys. I don't feel like this is a let's go get them, guys situation. That is also why he doesn't have the Americans behind him in this situation.
Yeah, I think it's just Biden, though. I'm hearing some feedback. I don't know if it's me. But I think it's just Biden, though. Like, people don't really get behind Biden. Even from the beginning, people thought that Biden wasn't as weak. They always said, he has dementia. Like, it's always been an issue. And I think Biden handled this the best way he could. If from my opinion, I think that the administration did what they were supposed to do in this particular scenario. This is a lot different from, when the Bush administration decided that there were weapons of mass destruction. This is a totally different scenario. But I think here what Biden needs to do when he talks to the American public is to not only hit on things like crime, which I'm sure he will, because a lot of people are saying that he's very, very weak on crime, and a lot of the very progressive policies on crime are not working. But I think that he does need to empathize, and I think that's something that is often missing. We didn't get any of that with Trump at all. So being able to really empathize with the American public, I think, would be refreshing.
Well, here's the pushback on that. Here's the pushback. And this is why I think it's important for us to even have these conversations, because any politician that comes into office, and I said this on a local level, any politician that comes into office claiming that they're going to change crime or stop the crime or stop crime, you should run from that politician, because they're lying to you. Crime is not something that you know, based upon, oh, who's in office? Do you think that people who are pulling the triggers, who are using knives and committing all types of violence, truly are worried about who's in the in City Hall, in the State House, or in the White House? No.
More than likely not. More than likely not.
They're not even worried about who the police commissioner is or who's in the Justice Department. They're not worried about that. Crime comes from a different place that politicians can possibly help. You know, you say, okay, I'm going to get some jobs. I'm going to try to create some new opportunities and all of those things. But to say that, oh, okay, there's a crime wave in this country, and we you know, many cities have been reporting that there has been an increase in crime. Biden has only been
poverty.
Exactly, poverty, but he's only been in office for 1 year.
That is, I agree, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. When people start talking, they tend to talk like, oh, for the last 2 years. I was like, he's only been in office for a year. Sometimes when people were coming back at me because I talk politics on my podcast, it was like, but what do you feel now about Biden? I was like, he's been in there for 4 months. Like, let's wait a little while before we start jumping up and down. Now, as far as crime, I agree with you. It's not going to change based on who the president is necessarily. However, policies do help. If you have a very lax DA or district attorney and people they get slaps on the wrist and the people just come back out, that does impact. When you have laws and policies on the books that do not punish crime, you will see an increase. They're like, there's no punishment here. So I got to push back on you on that one.
No, that's no problem. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When I come back, I want to share another dynamic that we may not have fully emphasized, or that we're not paying attention to, which is why when a president who's just been 1 year in office has already suffered the way that and is already getting hit the way that Biden is getting hit right now. And I want to share with you what I think is also happening and what's at play. So folks, stay with us. We still got a lot to talk about when we are addressing the State of the Union address. What are your expectations and realities of what the president will share with us tonight? Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now. We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back. We have been talking about expectations and realities for the State of the Union address that President Joe Biden is expected to give tonight. There are a host of issues that are on the agenda for the president to speak on, and we've been talking with our culture crew to get their take on these agendas. The expectations of talking about the Russian invasion of Ukraine, COVID, inflation in the economy, rebuilding, Build Back Better, and of course, his historic Supreme Court nominee with Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Let me bring back Iman Heath, Lee Swinney as part of this conversation. Here's what I think, ladies, that truly undermines this situation and how we got here. Because when you start looking at these poll numbers, and I'm looking at them right now, the poll numbers are crazy, and they're already saying, according to the Washington Post, quote, "No modern president has fallen from grace so far, so fast, so early in his tenure like President Joe Biden." No modern president, not even Barack Obama. So here's what I'm looking at taken from that. He came into office, and this is not being an apologist, I'm just looking at all the dynamics at play here. He came into office already behind the 8 ball because Trump put out the big lie saying that the election was illegitimate. And it created for Trump to keep pumping, even though it was a lie. But what it did was it caused doubt and suspicion. You plant the seed of doubt and suspicion in people's mind, the belief in the quote unquote American experiment, the belief in quote unquote democracy. You plant the seed of doubt and suspicion, and guess what? You undermine everything. So I see that happening. I see that is why Biden is in the position that he's in, because him and Harris, you remember when they came in, it was like, oh man, that's the former vice president under Barack Obama. Oh snap, she's the first black vice president. Boy, this is going to be a progressive, they ain't going to have no nonsense type of administration. But they came under the shadow of the big lie.
I feel like it was kind of already raining on their parade. Even when the election process even started, we were already in going into year 2 of the pandemic.
COVID, yeah.
So he already had one hell of a disadvantage trying to help Americans not panic. That's number one. Trying to keep Americans under wraps when it comes to this pandemic that was life-threatening to many. He also had to handle the economy with everyone loving Trump because of stimulus packages. Now they have their hand out with Biden. He had a lot of people expected a lot from him.
Yeah.
But comparing it to Trump's administration, we got to stop the comparing. Even though I'm not really into politics, it still shouldn't be a comparison to what Trump could do or did do versus Biden, because again, he's facing and came in facing a pandemic that we haven't been a part of, I want to say I don't recall a pandemic since I've been born. Like,
No,
not
right.
So he was at a disadvantage.
Yeah,
give the man 5 minutes.
He definitely came under a disadvantage. But I think that to that point, Lise, that he knows that he's behind an 8 ball, and in order for, and this is the thing, Lise, people want change, but when change happens, people are not able to handle the change. We scream change, but change creates discomfort. Change creates disruption, right? Change forces us to get out of our comfort zone and get into a space where we're in the unknown, where we has a deep sense of uncertainty. I think that if we truly understood the rhythms of leadership, that you wouldn't be calling for these massive, drastic changes without the American people asking the question, can we handle the change?
I agree. I think that you are 100% right when it comes to Joe Biden and what all the things that, just kind of going back to what Iman said, all the things that he came into. Yes, there was the pandemic there. Yes, which a lot of people forget that he came in during the pandemic. Not only that, we had just had the insurrection, which just was happening as what he got confirmed later on in that year. It's a lot.
It was like 2 weeks before.
Right. And so he's coming in on the tail end of that. And so it's a big shift from a society that had a president that downplayed everything and a president who only catered to a certain part of society. So people were looking for a savior. And that's the problem when people use politics as a savior. It is not a savior. It is the steps in order to create change to get what you want. And then you have to constantly still make sure that you are active in this in the process, not just set it and forget it. Yeah. So I'm hoping that people will understand. And I think that Joe Biden has a choice or a chance to actually turn this around with this State of the Union speech. We've seen other presidents do that in the past. He did come in on the tail end of bad things happening to him. So this is a make or break moment for Joe Biden. I feel like this is it.
This is a real make or break moment. One of the, and as we go to our next break, one of the big things that I don't see on the expectations list for the State of the Union address is nothing relating to voting rights. Nothing. That is true. And I know that some of our watchers on YouTube are saying reparations, like some of those racial justice issues that this first year were that we did not see any progress happening for this first year. So I think that is one of the key points. Voting rights, if nothing else, should be a part of this conversation, should be a part of it. I mean, even if it's just a couple of lines saying, it's unfortunate that we do have this foreign policy situation. We got these domestic issues, but this is a voting rights. This is a voting year for America. And we still have voter suppression and other voting tactics to keep people from going to the ballot box. I hope maybe the expectations are going to be wrong in this respect, but I really hope he speaks to voting rights, because that's what we need right now. If you're talking about all of this other stuff, the one fundamental thing that you need to ensure is that people are going to feel like they have a say in this quote unquote American experiment, in this, liberal democracy that we're a part of. So that's something that I hope that we could hear the president on.
I think he will. I believe he will.
We will see. We will see, Lise. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come right back, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about patriotism. Should we become patriots? If so, what does patriotism mean to you? I know it's a little different conversation, but I think in light of all that we've been discussing, where is your heart with this country? Where do you stand? It's more of an internal conversation, but we're going to bring it to the outside. So stay with us. We're going to have that discussion up next, right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome to the show. Welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network for our second hour. Folks, I want to have a discussion that you may not have thought about too much, but I felt like it's appropriate and it's very, very timely in light of what we've seen with the Russian-Ukraine war, in light of everything that's happening domestically in this country. The fact that we are all being challenged right now, whether you're Black, white, Asian, Latino, we're all being challenged right now to do one thing, which is to believe. Do you believe in America as it stands on this day, March the 1st, 2022? Should we become patriots? And let's take it a step further, folks. If we do become patriots, what does this level of patriotism look like? Now, we've all been exposed to the fact that, you have followers of Donald Trump and those in the Republican Party who said that they often tout that horn. Oh, patriotism, I'm a patriot. I am a pure patriot of this country. But then you have those of us who have seen the shortcomings and have heard the lies, and are not as enthusiastic about becoming cheerleaders for America. So I thought that maybe we should just have a little brief discussion about patriotism in this country. Now, this comes out of something that I was reading in the New York Times, and I want to share with you with one author, Ben Rhodes. He's the author of After the Fall. He wrote this book called After the Fall, Being American in the World We Make. And one of the big things that he puts out there as being a true patriot is believing in this idea, or rather a story. And what he says that America needs right now is a good story, because it is the story, as he puts forth, that has been the uniting factor for us to believe or for us to be patriotic. He said this in his piece for the Atlantic. He said many national stories are rooted in a particular ethnicity or religion that forms the core of that national identity. He said here in the United States, things are more complicated. Since our founding, our national identity has been the story that we tell ourselves and the wider world. He said, for example, when we say we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and when we say we the people in order to form a more perfect union, he said Americans possess the beginnings of a fantastically good story, one based on something different from ethnicity or religion. Yet throughout our history, the most profound divisions in American society have required us to focus on the meaning of our loftier words. Who is the we? What is the union? Put another way, what does the story mean, and who gets to tell it? I want to bring back my Culture Crew members, Lise Winnie, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast, and Iman Heath, who is an activist and entrepreneur. Sisters, this has been Rose. I'm going to share another side of this conversation. But do you think Mr. Rose is on to something here, that our national identity, our view, or our patriotism is predicated and dictated upon us having a good story? Does that connect with any one of you?
Yeah, I think that it does. Of course, with being a patriot, it's expressing devotion, right? Or support to your country. And in order for you to have devotion and support for your country, you have to believe in it, and you have to believe the narrative of whatever it is that comes with your country. I will say this, and I will say that African Americans, to me, are some of the most patriotic people ever. When you look at the history of African Americans in America and the things that they've gone through, and the fact that they still fought in pretty much every war that we've ever had. They've gone, they vote and get up and vote and make sure they are heard. They do for their communities. They pay taxes. After all of the things that have happened to us, we are the most patriotic people, despite what a lot of people say. And that's what I think is kind of interesting when he asks who gets to tell the story about who is a patriot and who isn't. I don't think it's just flag socks and flag drawers and flag hats.
No. I mean, I don't think it's that either, Lise. I think there is something inherently deeper, because when you are a patriot, to be a patriot does not mean that you completely neglect the truth of what you are attached to, Iman. I think being a patriot is a part of you can take the good and the bad, but then you still have hope and faith that the good will prevail over the bad.
Like you said, the author mentioned, we need a good story. I will definitely speak for those who do not feel as though they are a part of the good story. When people say, our country, I don't feel like this is my country. I just feel like I live here. A good story. I don't know my story in particular. I don't know exactly where I come from. I don't know how big my family is. Of course, most African Americans, once slavery was over and we actually did take heed to our freedom, a lot of us spread out. I have family in South and North Carolina that I do not know. I don't know what our heritage is. I'm not sure if I came from a tribe in Africa, that I come from Barbados. Like, I don't know where I started. So to be patriotic, I would say is not hard, but it's just, I'm not enthusiastic about the United States of America. And then I thought about, this war and how everyone's going crazy on TikTok. To ask me personally to fight for a country that doesn't fight for me as an African American, I don't feel included. So it's hard to be patriotic. But I do agree that Black people, we do still abide by what we need to abide by. We do go vote. We still follow the rules in elections. But it's hard to feel like you're a part of a country that excludes you in so many instances. It's hard. It's hard.
Nick, you might, then Iman, you might be siding with the sentiments of the New York Times opinion columnist Jamel Bowie. Jamel put it out there, and that he resists this idea that it's possible to forge a unifying sense of patriotism across the country. His point is that America is simply too large, too diverse to unite on a baseline of one meaning. He argues that patriotism rests at the individual level. He says, quote, I think all you have to do is identify what are the things that are valuable to you, what are the things that are important to you, and you pursue them.
I agree with that 100%. That what he's saying, because I feel a little different. No, I'll be damned if you tell me I am not an American. I'm American. This is my country. My people made sure that this was a country. Without the backs of my ancestors, this country does not stand. This is my country. You would never hear me say that I'm not connected to it, because it's mine. It might not be yours. It might not be the next person's. Like if your person came here, I don't know. But for mine, it's for me. And so I feel like with being an individual, I think you have to find what's that connection for you to identify with where you are come from. I don't know anything else but America, and it has its issues. But I think that if we look at the world as a whole, we're seeing that now. I don't think there's anywhere that doesn't have a very complex history when it comes to things like race.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing when you look at the world. So when you think about patriotism, to me, when I look at what my ancestors went through, that's what connects me, because I was like, they have not died and worked in vain. I am American.
Connection, that's the biggest keyword there, at least. Connection. What do you feel connected to, or how can you feel connected? And I definitely agree with you when you say, you know, the sweat and tears and blood of our people is what built these roads, streets, bridges, the America that you see now. Absolutely wholeheartedly agree. I would say the missing piece is our history. Yes, we came from Africa and we were slaves, but how about before that? Where now, don't get me wrong, I do believe some of us African Americans, we are Native Americans.
But that's ethnicity though. That's not nationality.
Right. You're true. I mean, that's right. But I feel as though we have to know our story. What are we connected to? I do not feel connected to this country. It even how we're treated. Something as simple as how we are being slaughtered by police officers and they get paid vacations. I can't feel connected or feel like I have to feel like you have my back in some kind of way. I'll go fight for you. Will you fight for me? It's not an even playing field. But connection, that's the biggest thing. Connection. What do we feel connected to?
All right, I know both of you sisters are going to be surprised by my answer on this, but I do feel connected to this country. And here's why. Here's why I feel connected to this country. Because I know that my ancestors were brought here. To your point, Iman, my ancestors were certainly brought here. They bled, they suffered, they died on this soil. So I feel connected, and I also feel obligated to make sure that the plight of Black people in this country in particular, and then the plight of all people, get to a place of justice. Like I think that I think the greatest patriots of this country are those who speak out against injustice, who speak truth to power. I think those are the greatest patriots of this country. Like if you have the balls, the testicular fortitude to tell the United States of America, the greatest nation that has ever been created in the history of the world, right? You tell this country that they are wrong in anything, that has to come from not just a place of wanting to be controversial or contradictory. That comes from a deep sense of wanting to see the country better. It's like being a part of a relationship, right? Like you telling somebody the truth about themselves, not because you want to destroy the person, but because you want the person to see themselves and with the hope that they will change their ways. But that
I
comes
love
out
that
of
perspective.
that comes out of a place of love or something.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
No,
if we're gonna use that perspective, I'm one hell of a patriot. One hell of a patriot. America will pay for the injustice of my people. America will pay for what we don't have, our inequality. If we're gonna use that perspective, you could definitely say that. I've never looked at it that way. It's definitely been about the connection, like Lee said, for me.
Yeah, because I mean, here's my thinking, and Lisa, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Here's my thinking. My concern is if we're not feeling connected to the place that we're born to. And see, part of me thinks that's a lie, because a lot of Black folks, we're very territorial by nature. You know what I mean? We rep the block that we come from. We rep the city that we grew up in.
We will rep that block for Raji.
You know what I'm saying?
Lord have mercy.
But then when it comes to the country, it's like I'm disconnected. Now, and I understand it. I trust and believe I understand it. But the thinking is, if you're not connected to this, and Iman, you said this, the fact that if you're not connected to the story of Black people in this country, then how are you going to be connected to the liberation of Black people in this country? How are you going to, if you're not connected to the pain, then how can you be connected to the joy?
I agree. I think that more people need to look at it that way. That's a very interesting perspective, that you should want it to get better. And I think most Black people do. It's just making that connection between that is patriotism and I'm not selling out. I think a lot of Black people don't want to sell out to the man. And if I say that I am a patriot, I am a sellout. And I think that that's where you get some disconnect. But I agree with you. There should be more people that should want to see it get better. And I think we will start to see those communities improve, because apparently there's no one else coming. Batman ain't coming. Superman ain't coming. No. We have to do it.
T'Challa is not coming.
But see, and that's the thing. Because, and this is, I know some Black folks about to get upset with me, but I wasn't born in Africa.
I'm not upset with you. I'm
just saying, 100%. I know some folks are going to watch and they be like, well, how are you going? Look, man, I wasn't born in Africa. The only concept of Africa that I have is if I either visit there or I learn that history, right? But I think it's a natural inclination. And it's like your parents. Like you come from your parents, right? You don't get to choose who your parents are, but you come from them. So it's like you're saying, do I love my parents? I think as a citizen of a country, it's a natural inclination that you love the place that you come from. I think that's just a natural human
inclination. Isn't it also a grass is greener perspective too? Because I know a lot of people say, well, I would leave here, but the issue is they don't know what it's like to be outside of here. We're just looking on the other side, assuming that it's better than what we have here, because it's not here. When you look at the world, it's racism, especially. They had it in it started there with the queen and all of them over there. Like that, that's where it started, the transatlantic slave trade. So it got better a little sooner over there, but it was still there. And you still see racism in Europe and other places today. They have issues in Africa today, whether it came from colonialism or not, it's there. So I think that when you look at ethnicity, I am connected to people of Africa because we share a similar ancestry. But when it comes to nationality, my culture is American. This is my culture.
Yeah, and I think
that can definitely be. I can understand that point of, the American culture, because I didn't think of it. I want to say in college, I asked young lady from Nigeria, do you think Black people have a culture? Because I didn't feel as though we had one. She said, yeah, I don't really eat fried chicken. That's definitely an American kind of thing. Said, cooking on the grill and things like that, that is a American thing. I never looked at it as an American culture. I always say, wow, I wonder, we don't have Black people have quinceañeras, and we don't have those traditional standings where once you graduate, move on to another age, you get a celebration. I looked at it from you know what? I can say it may have been a smaller window, but I didn't look at it as it being a culture. Not at all.
I mean, and I think that is something that we have to become mindful of, Iman. I think that is the part of it. To Lisa's point about, you traveling outside the country, there is not just a culture shift, but there's a whole lifestyle difference, right? With other countries. And I look at it, and again, I try to look at this because I feel like at this point, I'm tired of being angry.
Mm-hmm. I'm
tired of being an angry Black man living in America, right? Because I feel like that's just draining me.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as Black people say, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst country," you're not leaving. Let's keep it real.
Where are we going?
Leaving in droves.
We're not leaving. Where will we go, Faraji? Where will we go?
Africa, I guess.
Places. No, we can go some places. We can go to Africa. We can go to Europe. We can go. And I'm only bringing that point up is simply because if you don't like what you see, instead of running from it, make it better. I mean, just make it better. And see, people don't want to do the hard work because why? We assume that just because we're a part of a system that it's going to get better on its own, or the leaders of that system is going to, have our best interests at heart.
Or they give up.
Or they just give up, right?
Very true. Very true.
If you don't like what you see in this country, if your roots if your legacy is rooted in this country, right? What's wrong with trying to force the country to be better?
I agree.
That relationship comparison you guys used was awesome. If you don't want to work at something, what people do, either you go to therapy or you guys will get a divorce. And that y'all make a great
But let me tell you, let's add to this point, to what Lee said. You go to another country, they're gonna have a different set of problems, just like you go to another person, right? You don't want to deal with the problems of this current person. You like, fine. You think the grass is greener on the other side. You start to get to know that joke over there. You like, oh snap.
Red flag with that real over there in America.
I think I'm gonna go back over here real quick because I can't deal with your BS. I can deal, what's that song? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can deal with your BS.
I'd rather be with you and your BS. I'd rather be with you and yours rather than be with them. Jackie said it best.
I mean, that's where I feel like, we know this country.
Right.
We know the white supremacist system of this country, right? And I think this is just me as a media professional. I think one of the greatest rights that this country has afforded its citizens, I don't care what nobody say, is the freedom of speech. I think that is one of the most powerful, divinely inspired rights or freedoms that you can give to any citizen. Even God himself, the creator, will allow you to say what you want to say or to express yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Versus just shutting you down. You literally can't go into some countries and talk bad about the government without the government knocking on your door. In this country, you can speak. There's going to be some consequence. There's going to be some consequences.
Well, you can't really.
But the level is, you really look at all the people. Like, let's just take this for example. Donald Trump sided with a national enemy when he said Putin was a smart and he was a genius.
And he said that like 2
Check
days
this
ago?
out. He just only said this a couple of days ago, right? Check this out. Did he get arrested?
No.
Did the CIA and FBI start following and investigating his children for possibly committing treason?
No. Well, they are being investigated though, which is
they're being investigated,
rightfully so.
Not under that.
Not for that.
Right. But everything else.
My point is that freedom, that right to speak. That's not something that you can do in a lot of countries in the civilized world in 2022.
Agreed. And can we also say that people, and I know a lot of people saying that we can go to Africa. A lot of let me speak for the Africans for a minute. A lot of them don't want us over there speaking loud on the phone, patting our weaves with cheese curd. They like, that ain't our culture. We want y'all to stay over there. They like, come on now. They're like Trevor Noah said, they're not sitting there waiting. Oh, come on back home. They're not sitting there waiting for us.
So, not all of them. Not all of them.
Well, most of them aren't. Because unfortunately, it seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect in between African cultures or Africans and African Americans. There's a big gap there, which is quite unfortunate when you think about it, since we all kind of come from the same ancestry. But yes, I think that, again, going back to what I was saying, that patriotism is individual. And I think that if you feel like a patriot in this country because you are connected with wanting, like Faraja said, making it better, or that your people in the pain, and I don't want any of that to go to be vain, I think you can be a patriot.
I think so. Let me just share with you what some of our watchers are saying. Tynese Johnson said patriotism in this country is synonymous with racism. That's why when you attack racism, patriots get pissed. Well, I don't think that is always, and I mean, I think that's this version of patriotism that is synonymous, so I'm not going to disagree with you there, Tynese, but I don't think that is, patriotism has nothing to do with race. Patriotism talks about a love, I think an inherent love of where you come from, right? So what we're seeing from like Trumpers, that is false patriotism, because if it really came down to it, would you send your sons and children for a war that is based on a lie?
Probably not.
If you knew that your leaders were lying to you, and this is that, I think, Leash, you said it in the last segment, that a lot of Trumpers are kind of like jumping the boat. Would you send your most precious children to fight for a lie?
I would have to agree with that comment, though, that racism, it can be connected to patriotism, because it went on for so long. It was celebrated. Picnic, pick a nigga. It was a celebration to hang black people at one point. It was against the law to basically be black at some point with Jim Crow laws. It was against the law to be a free human. So I could definitely agree that racism and being patriotic, how it can be viewed as going hand to hand, because at one point, that was the hurrah, hooray moment to downgrade, degrade, and treat us as bad as you can. It was celebrated. Spit on that nigga. Don't help that nigga. It was a time when that was the spotlight, the shining moment to be a American. So I can agree with her comment.
Yeah.
But I think it's individual, though. That's their perception of patriotism. When you take it back to individual, it doesn't mean that's what it means to be a patriot.
Right. I think there is I think that patriotism encompasses both an individual identification and a collective identification, right? Like individually, I would say, well, like Jamel's point, saying that, what is important to you. But I think that as Black people, we can't cut ourselves off from who we are, our legacy, where we come from. We can't cut ourselves off. And I think that because we have gone through the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade, we were enslaved, right? Like part of our identity has been cut off. Mm-hmm. So we're in a state of conflict, right? Like, for example, Jago DeRogue said, quote, "We are all connected to Africa more than America. Some Africans did come here before Columbus." Okay. I don't know if we're all more connected to Africa because we're not in our right mental state. We don't know Africa like we know America because we didn't grow up in Africa. Right. We weren't, we grew up under this system of things.
Especially when it comes to African, because I think people are conflating ethnicity and nationality, and they are not the same. African culture, that's a whole culture. Their customs, unfortunately, because we were here so long, are not our customs anymore.
Yeah, no, and that's that again. If we want to change, and I think both of you said this about the culture, like it encompasses our custom. Like going back to the point that you made, Iman, You know, when it comes to certain days of the year, 4th of July, Memorial Day, our culture is we're gonna have a cookout.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But that's a culture, that's a custom that we have started, right? And so I think we do have to be careful of that. Sports actuary, one of our he always checks in, said that 13.4% of the country can't make up 86.6% do anything, but we don't have free speech. What about Kaepernick? I think even with Kaepernick, the fact, even though the NFL put him out and all of those things, let me just tell you, guess what? Is Kaepernick still eating?
He is still eating.
Is he still eating?
After everyone
but check this out.
Decided we're gonna stand behind the black man, especially Nike. Now you want to support him and his free speech. But what was going on when he was kneeling? When he was the only one kneeling. Now that he was blackballed. I've seen a documentary. He definitely was blackballed. He received his punishment. There was punishment for his.
I didn't say that. I know that. We know anytime a black person or any person in general speaks that level of truth to power or demonstrates, there's going to be some consequences. But what I'm saying though is that Kaepernick can still exist. We know about Kaepernick. He has Know Your Rights. We're going to talk a little bit about some of his latest efforts and initiatives. My point is, he may have been blackballed from the NFL, but he wasn't completely blackballed from America.
Correct. Yes.
So you know what I mean? That freedom of speech is there's still a level of protection around him.
You just got to put a star next to it. Freedom of speech.
You probably got to put a star next to it.
Freedom of speech, semicolon.
All right, freedom of speech.
I got to take another pause when we come back. Let's continue to have these conversations. Oh man, I really enjoyed that one. When we come back, let's talk about, should Frederick Douglass be on the U.S. dollar? Well, professor and scholar Henry Louis Gates says he believes he should be. What's your take on this? We'll have that conversation. Also, we got Trends Posting doing the most. So stay riding with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no
punching.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Welcome back to the show, folks. Let's talk about something that I think that should be is an interesting conversation, which is this idea of putting our Black heroes and sheroes in a space that we probably never thought they would be. Now, there has already been talks of Harriet Tubman on a U.S. currency. We've seen Maya Angelou on U.S. currency. Well, what about Frederick Douglass? According to famed Harvard historian Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr., he says that Frederick Douglass deserves to be on the U.S. dollar. Now, Mr. Gates is executive producer of a new documentary about the once enslaved abolitionists that's going to be airing on HBO. And he argues that Douglass's legacy remains as relevant today as it was back in the 1800s, a time when he was the most famous Black man on the planet. He said, now this is from Dr. Gates, quote, Frederick Douglass has assumed his place not only as one of America's great orators, but also as one of the writers of the 19th century. Was Douglass sometimes conservative by today's political standards? Absolutely. Was he sometimes radical? Of course. That goes without saying. So now Henry Louis Gates is saying it's time that he's assumed his place not only as one of America's greatest orators, but also as one of the writers of this 19th century. He deserves to be on U.S. currency. Let's bring back my culture crew, Lise Winnie, Iman Heath. Sisters, what y'all think about this one?
What's the significance?
What's the significance of putting Frederick Douglass on U.S. currency?
Yes, besides symbolism and making us feel good, what's
I think Frederick Douglass, his voice, and especially within the abolition movement, I mean, he dictated and shaped policy about moving forward after chattel slavery had ended.
Well, pause. I just want to say for everyone out there, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. Wholeheartedly, every bill should have a Black face on it, in my opinion. Just on the opposite end, what does it do for us? What is it going to do for us? What, besides make me feel good, what else?
I mean, you got to remember now, Frederick Douglass, and Lisa, I'm going to let you jump in on this as well, but Frederick Douglass was an advisor to Abraham Lincoln, President Abraham Lincoln. So Lincoln and Douglass, I mean, one of our watchers, Danita Jackson, said, quote, he should have replaced Lincoln long ago. Without Frederick Douglass and Abraham's ear, the slaves wouldn't have been freed.
I agree. I think I get what Iman is saying. Again, with the symbolism, like this is not really going to have the biggest impact. But Frederick Douglass was one of those, he was the man. Back then, he was the most photographed man in America, which is unheard of. The fact that this was a former slave that he taught himself to read, and he became this great orator and eventually an advisor, and he got into politics and all of these things on his own. So I agree that he does encompass what it means to have the American dream for his time, of course. Like, he was it, and he married a white woman. So I mean, that's saying a lot. He did a lot in his time, which are things that people weren't able to do. But again, I do agree with Iman. To be totally honest with you, people aren't even using paper currency like that anymore. Are you doing this now because we're transitioning away from paper currency into electronic currency, where it's not as relevant anymore? So,
well, that's an interesting point there, Lise. That's a quite very interesting point. So you're saying like Bitcoins and cryptocurrency?
There we go. Make him the face of Cash App.
Right.
You said make him the face of Cash App.
There we go. I'll feel
I'm not doing that
right
to my guy. No.
Yeah, we can't profit off of him.
No, we can't profit off of him. I mean, come on. That's a whole different conversation that we need to address later.
Right.
But I think that we are getting to a point now where we should really be advocating for our Black heroes and sheroes to be in these like public spaces. Like we know what Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. I mean, we already know what they did and what role they played. But they weren't the only people that shaped this country. Hell, I would even push for any Native American leader. I would push for any Latino leader. You know what I mean? Like the currency. If we're going to shift the currency, and I know some people say, man, just keep that thing all black. My point is that this country would not be in the position that it's in economically, first, if it wasn't for Black people. So we got to keep that. We got to keep that a buck, right? We got to keep that 100.
Even Faraji, if I'm not mistaken, slaves were the first like stock.
The enslaved. I like to say the enslaved.
Yeah, enslaved. I'm sorry.
The enslaved. Yep.
We were the first part. You know what? I might be a patriot, y'all. We were the first ones being dealt with as far as stocks. So that we did start the economic system. If you want to talk about Faraji, that is absolutely true. So I will say we deserve the acknowledgement. We do deserve the acknowledgement. But after acknowledgement, all right, what else? What else can we do?
Well, look, I don't know. I think that we need to figure out, Lise, like how do we make sure that the contributions from our leaders won't be forgotten and that the rest of the country didn't know. I mean, just imagine how powerful would it be? How powerful would it be that you have the United States of America that have this currency that reflect the diversity of its history, the diversity of the constituents. I don't think we ever gone to another country where you've seen like all of these different faces on the currency.
Right. I agree. No, I think that we do need to have representation. And if you look at it that way, then yes, it makes sense to make sure that we are reflecting our actual history and not just the history that we want to portray. And I'm not mad at it. Get rid of Andrew Jackson. You know, like I think it's D.L. Hughley said it. The money now is like baseball cards for slaveholders. That's basically what it is. So to get rid of Andrew Jackson and put Frederick Douglass on there, I'm all for it. But my thing is this, again, we are transitioning away from the currency. And that's why I kind of like, why are we doing this now as opposed to so long ago? But I can't wait to see Harriet Tubman on the 20. I hope that maybe they will put Frederick Douglass or, like you said, maybe a Native American tribe leader on there, because we don't hear about their history at all. Like it's completely disappeared. So I'm okay with it. And this special on HBO, if you have not seen it and you do not know about Frederick Douglass, is amazing. And if the people from Baltimore, some of my politicians have not watched this, they actually said that Baltimore was the inspiration to really teach Frederick Douglass that he could be whatever he wanted. It gave him hope. If that is not what we need to be teaching and going when we're in politics, telling people that if this great city can give Frederick Douglass hope, why can't it give us hope? Why can't we change it? So I think that you need to watch this if you haven't. It was directed amazing. It's a really great documentary.
You might need to be a campaign director there, at least. I like how you pulled that together. I like that.
Yeah. No, but I would agree with you, Lisa. I feel like, and I feel like we do need to make sure that that representation is important. One of our watchers, Caden Baseball Footage, says people on currency don't mean crap. I'm gonna just say that. Doesn't mean crap. Give me George Floyd bill, the bill versus what y'all talking about. 85% of people don't use cash daily.
That's what
I feel you, good brother. That's
I'm cool with. Look, I'm not saying that we shouldn't get the George Floyd bill either. I'm always an advocate for that bill, but I do think that, you know, for right now, I don't know if paper money is going to. I mean, I do believe it's going to run its course. It's going to run its course because you got to have something to back it up, and America is off the gold standard. We don't.
No, I
we
think
don't.
it will.
You know, at this point, I do think it's going to run its course. But my point is, currency is always going to be necessary. Hell, if it's not paper money, it's going to be something else that we use for currency, right?
Definitely.
But I think that the representation in the currency is something that we need to consider. Look, America is changing. This country is changing. And I think it's important that we make sure that that representation is felt in everything that we do in this country. We can't run away from the past and the ugliness of the past, but I certainly believe that we can show a much more vivid and colorful and diverse future. I truly believe that.
I agree, because the way they're trying to whitewash history, it's ridiculous. Like I've said before, to say that the enslaved were indentured servants, it's like, do you even know what the hell the definition is of both? Because it doesn't add up together. So it's for representation, cool. Yep. Let's not forget how good he was as far as teaching African Americans literature.
Yeah,
what it means. Definitely give him his flowers, and also agree. What else? I'm gonna be the advocate for. What else? I want my cake and I want to eat it too. What else you got for me?
Right. What else? Lise, what's your final thought on this?
I agree with her. I mean, it's again the symbolism. Frederick Douglass is absolutely amazing. He deserves to be recognized in history, but you know, if we put him on the money, are y'all gonna give us some? You sending us a check with the Frederick Douglass money? Like,
please, we can use it.
Right. Well, here's the thing. You know, look again. We know how this process goes. We talked about Maya Angelou. We're still waiting on the Harriet Tubman bill. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're still waiting. The Treasury Department saying they said that initially it was going to be released in 2020.
Now it's 2030.
It's 2022, y'all.
It's 2022 now. It's
2022, y'all.
So at this point, you know, we're waiting on that. But it might be another 5 years before we
don't hold your breath.
Like they said 2030 now. It's
2030 for Harriet Tubman.
2030. Yep. Mm-hmm.
We can go with
so that means Frederick Douglass is 2040, maybe 2045.
Frederick Douglass might be next lifetime.
It might be
next lifetime.
Might be. Cue Erykah Badu. That's all I'm gonna say. Cue Erykah.
Absolutely.
Damn.
That's it.
Damn. All right, we gotta take a quick pause. When we come back, your favorite segment, Trends Posted Doing the Most. Stay with us. All right, folks, let's talk about what's trending, what's posting, and who's doing the mosting. All right, first. Folks, there you go. Let's talk about Colin Kaepernick. Can we discuss? Let's bring. Where's my culture crew? Lise Winnie, Iman Heath. Colin Kaepernick. We talked about him in the last segment, earlier conversation. But Colin Kaepernick, who still has a voice, who's still using his voice to create change, has now launched the Autopsy Initiative for victims of police-related deaths. Check this out, y'all. Now, I follow his organization, Know Your Rights Camp, and they announced this new program called the Autopsy Initiative, which will provide free second autopsies to the families of people whose deaths are police related. The autopsies will be performed by board-certified pathologists. Now, according to Mr. Colin Kaepernick, he said, quote, "We know that the prison industrial complex, which includes police and policing, strives to protect and serve its interests at all costs. The Autopsy Initiative is one important step toward ensuring that family members have access to accurate and forensically verifiable information about the cause of death of their loved one in their time of need." Man, oh man. I actually think this program, this initiative, is probably one of the most brilliant initiatives that we can really put out there. I love it.
I don't even think it would be something that we thought of. Like, I wouldn't even think of that part of the justice system. I wouldn't think of that portion. That was an awesome initiative. Who thinks of that process?
That's what I'm saying, because a lot of times when you look at these police-related deaths, if you talk about anybody that has questionable circumstances around the deaths, that second autopsy done by an outside board-certified pathologist can be the very key thing to crack that case open, to finding finding out what really happened. Mm-hmm. So I mean, to do that service and to do it for free, and again, having board-certified pathologists, Lise, I know that Black people can gain from that. I know families can certainly find a benefit in that.
Yes, I mean, of course, it's always good. There were questions about Eric Garner. There were questions about George Floyd. So they all had, second opinions, which they glad that they did. Now, my thing is this. I think that this is great for the very few people that this will help. But my thing is this: can we get something that is not specific to just this issue for Black people, with all of these people that have this huge, gigantic platform? And I know that we need certain people to do certain things. That's my concern, because the Black community is suffering right now. There's so many things that he could do with the platform that he has that's outside of this.
So wait a minute, you're saying that he shouldn't pursue this?
No, I'm saying that he should, because to be totally honest with you, I don't think that this will take.
She's a patriot.
I don't think that this will take. Of course, yes, I always patriot first. I think that this will not take up everything that his organization is doing, because hopefully the goal is that eventually we won't need this. The goal should be to put his organization out of business, like every other nonprofit. If you're not going into the nonprofit world to not do it, you're in there for the wrong reasons. So my goal is we need to pursue further than this. I'm not going specifically after Colin Kaepernick, but just in general. Like, I know we celebrate this, but this is such a small percentage of Black people that this will help. The ones that help it will be amazing. But I wish that we would focus on other things, because I think if we did, more people would actually take up those issues instead of just this one.
I get you. I understand what you're saying. That's why I thought we need to put this word out there. I mean, it's getting out there, but I wanted to put it out there because, I think that, like, this is one of those services where you really don't think about it, right? You kind of go off of whatever city or state that you're a part of. They do the autopsy. But unfortunately, even the board certified pathologists, they are in cahoots with the police departments in those cities and in those states. So they I mean, police and these folks, the autopsy technicians and experts, they work hand in hand to create the narrative of the lie.
Correct.
And so for Colin and his organization to do something like this, it's like it gives people, especially grieving families and families that feel like they don't get the justice they deserve because they're Black or they're poor or whatever the case may be. It gives those families an option.
Like we said last week, it might give them that courage to actually take a step further when it comes to those type of trials.
Right.
Instead of taking those plea deals, that 1 second opinion autopsy might give them the courage to go ahead and go all the way for trial. So I think it'll be a good thing.
I think it is an awesome thing. All right, let's see what else is trending right now. Did you know that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle made their first award show appearance at the NAACP Awards? And they gotten the President's Award for their service, which I'm still trying to wrap my mind around. I'm going to be honest with you folks. This is what happened on Saturday night. They received the President's Awards for Special Achievement and Distinguished Public Service. Now, they joined a list of recipients, including Colin Powell, Rihanna, Muhammad Ali, Jesse Jackson, Condoleezza Rice, and LeBron James. I don't see how they fit.
I see how they tried to make it fit. Their whole fight against, the Queen and how she treated Meghan, and even through her pregnancy, how she treated Meghan, talking how the child is too dark. So I would say, I guess, standing up to what was being said or how they were being treated is how it fit. That's the only thing I can try to see. Other than that, I don't get it either.
Lisa, what's your take on it?
I think the NAACP trying to be inclusive, I guess. I'm not sure. I was a little baffled by this. I get it. The reason why they got it is because of their voting right. They've been fighting for voting rights here. That's why they were nominated for this. But my thing is that she doesn't really identify, like it was very hard for her to actually really identify with Black culture. And, Harry is like from, again, when we're talking about the dynasty that started the transatlantic slave trade, like it's a bit much for me. I'm just like, it's gonna be a no.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not.
I'm
just not there yet. I'm not there yet. Look, I mean, he said a line. He thanked the Black community for welcoming me so warmly. Like,
who welcomed y'all? Welcomed them? Y'all gave him a package? You gave him a package.
So,
you sent it?
First thing. This is where I kind of push back on, because nobody goes and say, I want to thank the white community for welcoming me to the community. Nobody says that. But Black people, we're kind of like this small. It becomes like Black community is one person. You know what I'm saying? And I don't understand that. And so it was just like, and I think the NAACP is trying to like branch out, but I could think of a number of more people that I feel like is more deserving.
Awkwafina an award. She got an award. So, people were outraged about that because they said she's been using Black culture in order to get ahead. So it's a bunch of different things. I think with the NAACP, they trying to branch out, but I'm like, keep that. You can keep that. We don't want it.
Absolutely. All right. Last and certainly not least, we started off talking about Women's History Month. But I wanted to end it on a positive note, talking about a Black woman. Did you know that Jay-Z paid Mary J. Blige $10,000 in cash in a brown paper bag for their song "Can't Knock the Hustle"?
Oh,
you can't knock the hustle. I mean,
all I'm gonna say is, Mary is getting that bag. I've been waiting all day to say that, y'all. I've been waiting all day to say that.
She got the bag and then some.
First thing,
Auntie Mary's still doing her thing. You saw it.
First thing, look, Iman. This has to be the resurrection of Mary J. Blige. 2022 is her year.
New album.
2022, new album. Phenomenal Super Bowl.
Yep.
Now stories about her greatness.
Mike Jordan was eyeing her down.
Oh yeah, Michael Jordan. He wasn't eyeing her. No, he was Googling and he was a little bit too touchy feely.
Hands all on the hip, but she divorced anyway. Go.
Hey, he not.
Shot Mike. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. Hold on.
No. Wait a minute. What? But apparently, yes, Jay-Z gave her $10,000 in a brown paper bag to do the song with him. And of course, the song is one of the greatest songs off his first album, Reasonable Doubt. It can continue to certify her as the voice, like queen of hip hop soul. Can Mary do any wrong at this point? Even when she goes through hard times, it runs up being good music.
Good for Rosie.
It's all her hard times
sound good. Okay, it'll get you through.
Let me tell you, I'm not even joking, sisters. I'm not even joking on this. Real quick, I listen to Good Morning Gorgeous every day. And I'm screaming, hey, look, I'm saying the words, good morning, gorgeous.
As you should. Sing it with your chest, Faraji.
I sing it with my whole chest.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. Positive affirmation.
Oh, man. No, Mary. Oh, of course, we can't forget the fact that she's on the hit show Power. She's having a phenomenal year. And I think, Lisa, tell me if I'm wrong on this, she's supposed to be dropping like either bags or knee-high boots or something. She's supposed to kind of go into some fashion. Is that what I've heard?
I believe so. I believe she is going into fashion, but Mary been fashionable forever. So
she's been fashionable.
You can do the dance and everything. I call it the fall over. I'm not really sure what it is, but everybody know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, she got herself. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, look, Mary, and one of the things I love about her, she's still humble.
Yeah.
She's still humble. She's still humble. You know what I mean? She's still married. And I think that, for her, how some artists, their pain, even though they have some painful experience, but like their pain, they go through those painful experiences because it helps people to get through their painful experiences. And I feel like Mary J. Blige is just one of those artists, like, with her personal life and her music career and those things. But each time that God blesses her, they rise up from that situation, she creates on a much higher level. And it's just amazing to watch her to continue to evolve and grow the way she's doing it. So big shout out to Mary, but I'm trying to get that back to. And Jay-Z really does give money like that. He did.
He's Jay-Z. Like even back then, what he was doing up and down the East Coast, it's Jay-Z.
he was just taking him. He was just driving. Nope. He was just driving. Nope. He was driving up and down 95.
He just stopped in Baltimore for a few minutes. That's all.
Yeah, he just stopped to play basketball a little bit. That's all.
That's all. All right, sisters. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for joining us for the show today.
Love y'all.
Fantastic culture crew here on Tuesdays. Appreciate and love y'all. Thank y'all so much. Lee Swinney, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast. My earpiece keep falling out. And of course, Iman Heath, who is an activist and entrepreneur. Make sure y'all follow those two on social media. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. I thank each and every one of you for tuning in, for being a part of the conversation. Make sure you show your support for Black Star Network. Check us out on our website at blackstarnetwork.com. If you have not had a chance to download the app, please do so. Do that with your TV, your tablet, your phone. Also, tell your friends and family about us, because why? We are officially Black-owned media, and we need your support. So, yes, we love the fact that you tune in, that you retweet, that you share all of our shows, but we also are in need of your financial support, because we want to continue to build Black-owned media from Black folks and other folks that see the value of what we're doing. So make sure you download Black Star Network on all of your devices. Oh, my goodness. Stay tuned. Up next at the 6 o'clock hour is my big brother, Roland Martin, Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll have another lively set of conversations tomorrow right here on The Culture, only exclusively found on the Black Star Network. God willing, talk to you tomorrow, family. Peace.